Welcome back to CVM Live. It's now time for the major stories in detail. And in the aftermath of the fire which destroyed the Walker's place of safety, which has been in operation for over 45 years, questions are being raised regarding whether or not proper protocols were observed and whether or not the emergency response plan was adequate. CVM Live, Curlin Brown reports.
12-year-old Anika McCrae was the younger of the two girls. The other, Anna K. Moreland, who turned 17 on January 10. Both were from St. Andrew addresses, and it's understood they were trapped inside the burning building when the roof caved in. It's terrible to be asked, well, for the state to be taking care of your child, and the next thing you get is a report like this, your child is dead.
We will be conducting a fulsome detailed review, and we will be putting it all out there in a very transparent fashion, and to see if anything went wrong, and if it did go wrong, then clearly we'll have to fix it, but also to see if anything can be strengthened, right? So I think all of these experiences, we have to look at them, we have to learn from them, but importantly, if there is negligence, then we have to hold people accountable.
While there's much sympathy for all surviving 20 males and 14 females, along with their caregivers, the tough question is, can anyone be held culpable? The minister says there are protocols in place, systems to be followed in the case of an emergency.
We do go through drills, we do bring in the fire department, but we have to check in each instance if the protocol was followed, right? And where we find, quite frankly, that anything may have fell short, that if there is any occurrence of negligence, then clearly the state will have to act. I will have to send a clear signal that is unacceptable. But as it is now, our focus is on the children, on the staff, because as you can imagine, the staff will be severely traumatized, because it would be staff who would have led out those 34 and who would have been trying to lead out the entire 36.
Meanwhile, opposition spokesperson on youth and education, Damian Crawford, is however of the view that a proactive measure is missing from the string of response mechanisms to the current situation affecting the children who have been displaced at the Walker's place of safety.
I observed the response to this fire, and as much as we take all efforts to mitigate against situations like these reoccurring, there is no foolproof way of preventing these situations. And so we must also focus on how we respond. And one thing I thought that could have been implemented was a pre-approval of persons within the society that are willing to house children at the times of crisis, for 3 months, whatever. So persons would be pre-screened and pre-approved, and on a time like this, you could call upon those older persons that would then say, okay, I can take 2 or 5 or 3, etc. Because at this point, if another one should happen in close proximity, we wouldn't have spaces to further inconvenience the current homes that are still operational. So,
the nation's murder tally has been increased by 1, with the killing of an unidentified man in Manchester. CVM Live's Joel Croskill reports.
Murder in Manchester, as the body of an unidentified man was found along a roadway with multiple gunshot wounds.
About 6:30 a.m. this morning, the 17th of January 2018, received information that a body is lying along the Spur Tree Main Road, vicinity of Montpelier housing scheme. Police proceed to Spur Tree, where we found the body of a male, black complexion, dressed in green shirt, brown pants, orange shoes, with a black Jordan bag.
The Mandeville police are seeking the assistance of the public in identifying the victim of the shooting.
It appears as if he received gunshots to the head and body. At this time, it is unidentified. We are asking anyone who would have seen or know this person dressed in this manner to call the police and give us the information. You can call 962-2832, 962-2250, or 962-6647.
Reports that residents heard gunshots the previous night at around 6:30, and the body was later discovered. Joel Crosskill, CVM Live.
The police have detained a man who was found to have over 500 unpaid traffic tickets, despite the recently concluded traffic amnesty. As Nika Lewis reports, the police are warning that one unpaid ticket is one too many.
Jamaicans pride themselves on occasion when they escape the long arms of the law, as they say, by the skin of their teeth. But it would seem on Wednesday, luck ran out on one particular motorist.
Today, in one of our traffic checkpoints, a motorist who was stopped, his record was checked, and when that was done, it revealed that he had over 500 plus outstanding tickets. So naturally, he was taken into custody and he was taken before the court.
In 2017, the government's ticket amnesty took effect on August 2 and ran up to October 31 before it was extended for another 45 days, ending January 13, 2018. So it appears this motorist was not only allowed to accumulate hundreds of tickets, but also found his way around an arrest till now.
He is still in custody as we speak, and I know that he will be facing the court again come next month in order to treat with all those outstanding tickets. But I really want to highlight the fact that you don't have to have 500 tickets for you to find yourself being inconvenienced. One ticket is sufficient. If it is left unchecked, you don't honor the payment date, you don't honor the court date, then that ticket is now on its way to become a warrant.
And while the motorist has been made to pay for some of his tickets, the head of the Police Traffic and Highway Division, SSP Calvin Allen, is reminding motorists that all it takes to lead to charges is one ticket.
It is really not in our purview just to inconvenience anyone, but all we are doing is enforcing the law. So we want for you persons to take these matters of the road seriously in honoring the breaches that you might be cited for under the Road Traffic Act.
Nika Lewis, CVM Live.
The Public Administration and Appropriations Committee today learned that the Ministry of National Security has partially terminated the contract with O'Brien's International Car Sales and Rentals. CVM Live's Joel Crosskill has this report.
Permanent Secretary Diane McIntosh told Parliament's Public Administration and Appropriations Committee, PAAC, that the Ministry of National Security has partially terminated the contract with O'Brien's International Car Sales and Rentals for failing to fulfill the terms of the contract to supply the police with 200 vehicles.
You said earlier, Pierce, that you have written to or have expressed to the supplier that you want to get out of this contract. So it's a partial termination, as you phrase it, termination of the contract. One of the issues that have been discussed since we last met is the letter of moratorium, which the Prime Minister expressed that would have been withdrawn. And the discussion between yourself and the supplier was who was liable for the additional taxes.
Meanwhile, Fitzjackson expressed concern with the impact that a lack of procurement has had on the Jamaica Constabulary Force.
He says some things can't be calculated in dollars and cents, you know. The loss to us as a country is the people being murdered. This is a contributing factor. That this is why we must get it right. And these are doable things. If we can't get this right, well, we'll expect to catch gunman who are up and down about the place. So I beg of you, PS. And don't let nobody bamboozle you and push you in any corner to sign any document that don't comport with proper procurement guidelines.
Joel Crosskill, CVM Live.
Tourism is experiencing a 6% increase for the winter tourist season when compared to the corresponding period last year. This according to Acting Director of Tourism, Donald Dawson. CVM Live's Nicole Wilson has more in this report.
Dawson attributes the increase in arrivals to the colder winter being experienced in the northern hemisphere. He also acknowledges that the recent hurricanes that devastated other tourist locations in the Caribbean as another possible factor.
This winter is cold, a lot of snow, so it's driving much more business. So this winter looks good. The projections look good. I don't want to jinx anything, but it looks good so far.
Dawson is optimistic about this year's winter tourist season observed from December to April.
We have air service, good air service in place. We have air coming out of all our major gateways in the United States. We have about 40,000 additional seats coming out of the U.S. this winter versus last year. I think out of Canada, we also have significant increases in air seats. Out of Europe also, out of the UK. So overall, the good news is that we have the facility to bring more visitors to the island.
He says that crime poses a threat to tourism, a point opposition spokesman on tourism Dr. Wickham McNeil agrees. McNeil made specific reference to a recent travel advisory issued by the United States.
For the first time, I was getting phone calls from persons overseas who were now seeing these travel advisories being carried on U.S. media and broad media at that. And that is also of grave concern because in the past we've had advisories, but I've never really seen it to that extent being carried on the media in this fashion.
McNeil adds that the government needs to create a crime plan that can be supported by all stakeholders, including the opposition. Nicole Wilson, CVM Live.
Tonight, Nika Lewis examines the economic failings that resulted from the Palisadoes gridlock on New Year's Day following a daylight party in another CVM Probes.
Just how much the Palisadoes traffic pileup will or has already cost Jamaicans remains unanswered as various bodies take stock of the issue. 2 weeks since the January 2nd congestion, the police, the airport and other stakeholders are yet to furnish the nation with an overall cost. But financial and statistical expert Ralston Hyman suggests the price of such disorder will be high.
Now, if you look at the potential impact that is likely to have on the tourism sector, then you can extrapolate that and see that that is going to have a significant impact on the economy.
Sources close to the promoters Supreme Team Limited, whose main players are known by their aliases as Jigga, Shooty, Dexter, Nino, Ellis and Tiggy, explained that despite a profit from the large turnout, Supreme Team Limited also incurred losses. They point to the 10 shuttle buses they engaged at approximately $35,000 each, which patrons did not utilize. We exhausted all possible avenues seeking other responses from the promoters, including their full names, but were advised they were not speaking further on the issue. The Airports Authority of Jamaica, AAJ, in the meantime, has promised a fulsome response once the Transport Ministry satisfactorily completes its investigation. The police have also refrained from commenting whilst the investigation is ongoing.
So all this disorder that we have in the transportation business is not conducive with the acceleration of economic growth because it hampers productivity. So we'll have to fix those problems. We can't just ignore them and give the impression that prosperity is the good life where people just do whatever they want to do and just all kinds of disorder.
Hyman finds the congestion a failure on the part of the KSAMC, having issued the permit in the first place along the nation's gateway. As to the patrons' disregard for law and order, he says that's the failing of the police. While scores of passengers missed their flights and were rescheduled in some cases, the AAJ says no lawsuits were brought, as was rumored.
People see Jamaica, particularly members of the diaspora who have significant amounts to invest and who are more interested in Jamaica now, given what is happening in America with America First, with Trump and Brexit. Many of those persons are saying, boy, we'd like to go back to Jamaica and invest, but that place is too dangerous.
On Thursday, the role of the KSAMC in the Palisadoes pileup. For CVM Probes, I'm Nika Lewis.
Watch it! Yeah.
Time now for regional and international news.
Now to news in the region. In Barbados, the National Union of Public Workers, NUPW, has ordered its members to stay away from work Thursday and Friday. The planned two-day national shutdown follows a break in pay negotiations between Barbados' largest public sector union and the government. The union released a statement saying public servants have taken the brunt of this government's draconian cost-cutting measures and can take it no more. They deserve better. Now, in Trinidad, local economist Marla Ducaran says cryptocurrencies cannot ease Trinidad and Tobago's foreign exchange crisis, although they are convertible to US dollars. She was one of several experts that was spoken to regarding the issue of cryptocurrencies, with a consensus that the issue should be investigated. The Central Bank of Trinidad and Tobago says it is working on a policy response to digital currencies. And on the international scene, China has reacted angrily to the latest talks on North Korea's nuclear ambitions. Beijing, which was not invited to the 20-nation meeting in Canada, says the talks have no legitimacy. Those gathered agreed to increase pressure on North Korea's leader. Here's more from the BBC.
No dramatic decisions were taken in Vancouver, but there was a sense of solidarity and resolve about the nuclear standoff with North Korea, and that the crisis was coming to a head.
If North Korea does not choose the pathway of engagement, discussion, negotiation, then they themselves will trigger an option.
The foreign ministers here were pushing for a diplomatic, not a military option. They say sanctions are beginning to bite and agreed to work together more closely to tighten the squeeze on Pyongyang. They continued to insist they would not accept North Korea as a nuclear power.
A North Korea that commits to the complete, verifiable, and irreversible dismantling of its nuclear program will have a secure place in the international community. Until and unless that goal is reached, the international community will continue to take the necessary steps to stop North Korea's nuclearization and aggression.
On the peninsula, the two Koreas were talking again. The recent diplomatic opening has eased tensions for the Olympics next month in South Korea, something the Vancouver meeting supported. But there was skepticism about whether the talks could achieve anything more than that. And despite the solidarity and resolve on display, so far such efforts have failed to stop North Korea from becoming a nuclear power. Barbara Platt-Usher, BBC News, Vancouver.
And those were the regional and international news this evening. I'm Nika Lewis.
Those were our major stories. More news coming your way later on with News Live in 5 with Joel Croskill. But straight ahead, we discuss the public sector wage negotiations with our expert panel. Panel discussion is next when we return from this break.